Hello, everybody. So I hope I'm audible. Now, we are going to start with the panel discussion on a very, very important topic, that is stock markets and elections, because we have the Union Lok Sabha elections and also the US presidential elections. We expect the market to be quite volatile this time. And we've been seeing how 2024 has started. So we have four esteemed panelists with us: Mr. Nooresh Merani, Mr. Saket Mehrotra, Lokesh Sethia, and we also have Nitya Shah of Kamakya Capital, who will be joining us. And this entire show will be moderated by our very own co-founder, Mr. Vineet Patavri. So just give us 2 minutes before we just, everybody can join us. Our panelists, our moderator, all of us can join us, and we'll start right away, next 2 to 3 minutes. I think there is some technical glitch because of which Viniki is unable to join the session. Nitya, are you there?
Yes, I am there, but my video is not on, I think.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. I think we can start with this, and we'll keep asking questions. So I'll quickly give a flow of the session today, of this panel discussion. That since we have the Lok Sabha elections and a lot of people, a lot of sectors have run up and a lot of people have these jittery questions that, the markets are volatile. How do we stay invested? How do we trade certain stocks and invest certain, keep invested? How do we actually protect ourselves from FOMO? Do our risk management? So there are a lot of questions which have come in. And so I'll be taking up few questions which each of the experts here, a quick brief about all of them. So Nooresh has over 15 years of experience in the markets, and he's been associated with us for a very, very long time on Stock and Social as an expert. And he shares his techno funda stock ideas on our platform. He's also running a blog of his own. You can check them out. And Nooresh, welcome. A quick
Hi.
two-line introduction about yourself will give our users a good insight.
So very quickly, I started tracking markets 20 years back, and that was the time where the first elections took place, which actually made the markets take a big knock. So that was May 2004. So that's how I started. I've been doing technicals and a lot of things over the last 20 years. So I think we will keep it to questions only as such going forward.
Thank you. So over to Lokeshji. Lokeshji, welcome. I think all our Stockage Club users, all of them, I'm sure they know you very well. So you've been sharing very good insights on the investment side with our users and as well as trading calls. So that's a perfect blend of using both technicals and the fundamental side of the markets, keeping them informed during all the ups and downs of the markets. Quick introduction, quick two-liner about yourself to our users.
आप अगर देखोगे ना, मैं सेकेंड जनरेशन से हूँ, तो 1995 में मेरे पापा मार्केट में तब से हैं। तो मैंने रोल्टा भी देखा है, पेंटा मीडिया का सत्यम का भी केस देखा है, एंड मैं मार्केट में एक्टिव 2010 के बाद से स्टार्ट हुआ है मेरा आफ्टर MBA, एंड उसके बाद से कंटिन्यूअस हम मार्केट में ही हैं जी। बाकी तो सवालों के साथ अब देखेंगे।
Saket, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Saket. So Saket has been a fund manager with Tusk Investments, and he is also a expert on our Stock and Social platform who keeps sharing some investing insight for a longer period of time. And some of his great hits were Saregama, which he shared on the platform, and all our users did benefit. Welcome, Saket.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Shachi.
And Nitya, welcome. Nitya, you're there? Because since I am unable to see a video of all of you, so I'm just guessing. So Nitya has been again a fund manager with Kamakya Capital, doing amazing work. And I've personally seen his work, and young, quite recently he's joined stock markets and has been doing very, very well. So Nitya, I think not many people know about you or users. So could you just give insight about yourself to all our users?
Sure. So thank you for having me here. Now I've been investing now since the last 6 years. So my father,
Hmm.
Mr. Nitya Shah, has mentored my team, and I, over the last few years, have grown up, seeing my dad be a part of the markets. So my focus is fully stock specific, and we focus on fundamentals and on-ground reality. So we don't look much at the, broader based part of research. We are very, very micro research oriented. So I would love to, like considering most of the themes I've already run out, now where to look at is the real question. So I would be happy to share my insight once the session starts.
Right. Thank you, Nitya. So let's start with the discussion. I think Vineet sir is still joining in. He's trying to join in, but there is some technical glitch because of which a lot of users are not being able to join. But nevertheless, we'll start with the session, and whoever has missed, we will definitely upload the session and we'll make the recordings available in case if you are still not, if there has been any glitch in joining in. So not to worry about that. So, Nooresh, I think the first question, I would like to take up with you, since you've been the longest in the markets in this panel. So, how have you actually positioned yourself, during the previous elections, which has happened?
Yeah. So I'll quickly take you through the journey. So what happened is I got into the markets way back in 2004. And there was a discussion between my mentor, Mr. N.S. Vidai, my mama, and his friend discussing whether BJP comes or Congress comes, the markets will fall. And what actually happened is going into May 2004, 17 May 2004, we had one of the largest single day falls. So that was the time when I realized this could be analyzed, and that was how I got into the markets. Now, what is interesting is back in May 2004, April to May 2004, 8 out of 10 global markets fell. On 17th May 2004, almost 6 out of 10 markets were down more than 2%. I don't think it happened because of Indian elections. So that was the first learning that trends across the world are more important than just looking at Indian elections. Then you go to 2009, you had a good recovery across the world after the 2008 fall. Indian markets were lagging behind. Say most of the emerging markets were up 40%, we were up 25%. Moment the elections happened, although the result was not something which everyone wanted in terms of being a coalition, etc., the stock markets went up 20%. Going into 2014, same thing, the world markets had already started going up from 2013-14. India was lagging behind, the markets did really well. So that's the case. So going into 2014, the 2004 learning helped that the trend is great across the world, go long. So that was a game changer year for me because that's the point going into pre-elections and going through election as leveraged longs. 2019, there was not a major event as such, but the markets did okay. So in 2024, again, what we look at is very simply put, are we lagging behind? I don't think so. We are also at all-time highs. Global markets are also at all-time highs. So the positioning is not similar to 2014 where you can go all long, all leveraged. So one will have to be much more cautious going forward because even if the things come out great out of election, there could be another opportunity as such. So not the time to be like we were in 2014 and neither like 2004 where everything is trending down. So we are right in the middle as of now.
So, Nooresh, just to extend this, that when you say that it's just not the elections which keep which actually decide the major trend. So, any other specific factors which we should see to actually identify the early flags to identify the trend as a user? If you want, you can share your screen also.
So the simplest thing which we look out for is what is happening across various indices, right? So what is happening, say, few indices which we look out for, you have Nifty 50 in India, you have Nifty 500, because Nifty 50 is very concentrated in the top 10 names, top 5 names. So look at Nifty 500 and then you look at Nifty 50 equal weight. If all the three are trending together, we are still in a strong trend. Then add to it, you have US markets, you look at Dow Jones and Nasdaq, and then maybe pick up a Nikkei or a DAX, right? So that's the structure we look out for all the time. say, if you look at previous elections, wherever the trend has been good going into the elections, the things have worked out. So macro events or any big events, what we look out for, what is happening across. So to give you an example, in 2017, we had demonetization in 2016 end. The assumption was, what happens next? Real estate should be the worst sector, logically, common sense wise. And then real estate was the best performer next year. Second conclusion was, after 2017, we started seeing that financialization in India, SIP money, etc., led to a bull market. Now, funny part, 2017, the whole world was up. So none of the indices over the world went down more than 8-10%. Right? So that's the trend. So that is how we try to conclude, okay, what are we going into an event? So today, when I look into the event, everything is trending up. We are getting into overbought stages in some places. So this is not the time to be aggressive. This is the time to be a little more defensive. And we've had 11 great months, right? From March 23, a random portfolio is up 60-80%. The small cap index is up 50%. You have the major indices up 30%. So we are not going gung-ho into the elections. Rather, this would be the first time I would be looking out to keep some cash going into elections. Maybe miss out the overall move if something great happens, or at least look at it not as going leveraged longs as I was in 2014 or 2009.
Right, right. Interesting. Nitya, you are there?
Yes.
Nitya, so as Nooresh is saying that, it's not like, he would like to be, not go long too aggressive, and, he would like to, because there'll be volatility and not based only on elections, but other global factors also. So any specific themes or growth, where you see value in FY25 and here onwards, so that, even if there is an opportunity which comes in price wise for our users, they can actually get invested there.
Right. So as Nooresh said correctly, I feel that yes, the markets are slightly heated at present. So going forward, we would have to be very, very specific as to, you have to literally run reverse screeners now, where there's low capacity utilization at the moment. They've done their capex, and you'll see certain trends in chemicals and agrochemicals, as exports have been quite affected, due to global demand. We are seeing quite a lot of value in certain stocks where the revenue is more India focused, and due to the bearishness in chemicals, these stocks are not getting the value they deserve. So I feel in the coming year, we are going to see a lot of consolidation in the markets. It's going to be a sideways market, because you can notice on a 5-year basis, we are trading at a higher premium in terms of valuation. Like if you just look at the indices in general. So going forward, I think chemicals can be very interesting. We are looking at cyclicals such as steel, petrochemicals, uh, agrochemicals. So we look at niche products where, regardless of what happens, their demand should not trickle down. So that becomes a very important part. And I feel now in India, the rich are getting richer. If you look at studies in general, you're going to see ultra HNIs grow to around about 20,000 people in India by around about 2028, 2030. So ultra HNI is categorized, I would say, as net worth of 50 crores and above. And by 2030, you can also expect a lot of the population moving towards the upper middle class, like the aspirers today will move towards the upper middle class. So I think premiumization as a theme can be very interesting. And there's a lot of sectors I feel which have not been noticed, like for example, in the cinema sector. I feel there's a lot of value there and it's not being tapped into. So that's another trend we are looking at closely. So I would say chemicals look interesting, and ethanol cycle revival looks interesting, and we should look at premiumization in depth.
Saket, Nitya, you just mentioned about reverse filters. So can you elaborate a little more on that side? That what do you mean by reverse filters, and how can we actually? So does that mean that we need to sell out a few portfolio or something which can be used as a filter to exit those stocks?
Yes, so for example, I'll put it this way, like say in this last 1 year, you will notice that almost every kind of theme has performed. So we just look at stocks where you run a first filter that the price return over 1 year has been below the Nifty return. So that becomes your first starting point to see these sectors are laggards. And once you have a list of the laggards over there, you start seeing who's increased their capacities, and the real study is to ascertain when the demand will return in those sectors. So there's been a lot of realization loss in chemicals where the volume growth is coming in, but the price growth has not come in yet. So that's another spot where in certain industries, if the end user industry of that chemical is seeing increased demand going forward, it shows that eventually the price realization will also start going up. And we are trying to look for net debt free companies. So we don't want to take any balance sheet risk. So we want to look at companies where the leverage has been managed well. They're just going through a bad time. And above all, the intention of the management should be to grow. Like they should want to create something solid, like they're trying to create a mark for themselves in the industry. So understanding the promoter becomes very important. So interacting with them, visiting their plants, going through their con calls, you have to dig deep then to finally take a view that this industry could recover, because for a reason the stock has fallen significantly, right? So you're trying to look at 10 people are against you. Can you take a contrarian view? And you might be a quarter or two early, but later on this could pay off in the long run once the earnings trajectory completely changes. Like say if you're moving from a negative EBITDA margin to a double-digit EBITDA margin, your entire valuation re-rating will get captured. So we are trying to look at these kind of stocks.
Interesting. So, Lokeshi, now, just extending about the red flags and extending the discussion. So, what if the Modi government has some jittery exit polls? And which sector will be the most impacted according to you? How can investors actually hedge themselves from this uncertainty?
सबसे पहले जब हम इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं स्वाति जी, तो हम 2 महीने की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं। इलेक्शन जैसे नूर जी बोल रहे हैं, इलेक्शन आता है और जाता है, कभी वर्ल्ड मार्केट में क्या हो रहा है हमें वो देखना है, राइट? तो अभी अगर देखोगे यूएस ब्रेकआउट फ्रॉम ऑल टाइम हाई, आप यूरोप को देखोगे तो यूरोप ब्रेकआउट कर रहा है, आप जापान देखो तो 37 या 35 ईयर्स के बाद वो भी ब्रेकआउट कर रहा है। जब वर्ल्ड मार्केट अच्छा कर रहा है तो इंडिया आगे आने वाले टाइम पे अच्छा करने के पूरे चांसेस है। सेकेंड थिंग, जब हम बात कर रहे हैं इंडिया भाग चुका है, इंडिया ऑल टाइम हाई में आ चुका है या बहुत ज्यादा चल चुका है, तो हमें 1 महीना या 6 महीना या 12 महीना के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से नहीं देख के, इफ यू चेक लास्ट 5 ईयर्स डेटा या लास्ट 10 ईयर्स डेटा, तो आप कभी भी लास्ट 5 साल का डेटा देखोगे कि निफ्टी मोटा 13 से 14% सीएजीआर रिटर्न देता है। तो जब 2018-19 का देखोगे तो उस टाइम पे निफ्टी का हाई था 12,500, आज हम 22,000 के करेंगे, 22-23,000। तो घूम फिर के हमने उतना ही कमाया जितना निफ्टी देती है, 12 से 13%, 14% सीएजीआर रिटर्न। ये क्या होता है, आपको एक साथ में नहीं देता, 2 साल 3 साल नहीं चलेगा, 1 साल चल जाएगा, इस तरह से मार्केट चलता है। तो कमिंग बैक टू इलेक्शन फर्स्ट, तो इलेक्शन में हमें क्या लग रहा है, इलेक्शन में ये लीवरेज पोजीशन आपको नहीं जाना चाहिए। नंबर 1, आप चाहो तो ऑप्शन से आपको हेज, आपका मान लीजिए 1 करोड़ का पोर्टफोलियो है, आप अपने पोर्शन को ऑप्शन से हेज करके जा सकते हैं। सेकेंड, अब ये करना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से, क्योंकि 2004 मुझे भी याद है, हमें सबको पता था वाजपेयी गवर्नमेंट आएंगे, बट किसी वजह से नहीं आया। नेक्स्ट डे 25 में ऑलमोस्ट 3-4 दिन के अंदर 25% का आपको डिप दिखा इंडियन मार्केट में, प्लस एक दिन में सर्किट भी लोअर सर्किट दिखा हुआ है, करेक्ट? तो इस चीज को हम लेके नहीं जा सकते जब मोदी जी कंटिन्यू करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे, वी डोंट नो। तो वो एक रिस्क मैटर रहेगा, क्योंकि मार्केट कंसीडर करके जा रहा है ये गवर्नमेंट वापिस आएगी, अगर नहीं आई तो क्या? तो उसके लिए यू हैव अ सेकेंडरी प्लान, सेकेंड ऑप्शन, आप बी प्लान होना चाहिए। तो आप ऑप्शन से हेज करें, आप लीवरेज पोजीशन ना लेके जाएं। ऑप्शन राइटर्स के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, ऑप्शन राइटर अपना हेज पोजीशन जरूर हेज रखे, अदरवाइज हमने देखा है लोगों को घर दिखते हुए, क्योंकि उस टाइम पे इलेक्शन के डे और इलेक्शन के 1-2 दिन के अंदर मार्केट वॉलेटिलिटी बहुत ज्यादा रहेगी, 1000 पॉइंट, 500 पॉइंट के ऊपर नीचे होगा। तो उस टाइम पे क्योंकि आईवी बढ़ी रहेगी, तो ऑप्शन जो राइटर है वो कमाएंगे ज्यादा, बट रिस्क भी बहुत ज्यादा रहता है। तो वो एक पोर्शन को लेके चलना चाहिए। नॉर्मली अगर 5 इलेक्शन की हम बात करें, लास्ट 5 इलेक्शन की बात करें, तो 90% केस में इंडियन मार्केट ने 15 to लेके 35% का रिटर्न दिया। तो पूरे साल में अगर देखा जाए तो नेगेटिव रिटर्न नहीं है इंडियन मार्केट में इलेक्शन ईयर्स में। 15 से लेकर चाहे वो 2004 का भी क्यों ना हो, 25% डाउन होने के बाद भी एंड ऑफ द दिसंबर हम अगर कैलकुलेट करें तो हमें 18% का रिटर्न मिला था 2004 में भी, राइट। तो मोटा मोटा ये रिटर्न आपको जनरेट होगा। जब इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करें, आप थीम की बात कर लेते हैं, जो आपका मेन सवाल था कि कहां पर दिमाग लगाना चाहिए, कहां पर लग रहा है। तो इस चीज में जो फेलो पैनलिस्ट ने बताया कि थोड़ा सा जो चले नहीं है उस पर ध्यान दें, क्योंकि हम मोमेंटम इन्वेस्टर है, टेक्नो फंडा देखते हैं, साथ में मोमेंटम भी है। तो जो महंगा हो चुका है रेलवे, उसको थोड़ा सा अवॉइड करें, मगर जो अभी महंगा नहीं है मगर चल रहा है उस पर आप ध्यान दे सकते हैं। समथिंग लाइक पीएसयू बैंक्स। पीएसयू बैंक्स मेरे हमारे नजर में बहुत ज्यादा एक्टिवली हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं और हमें लग रहा है पीएसयू बैंक आने वाले 6-12 महीने में एक अच्छा रिटर्न देगा। 2 रीजन है इसके। अगर आप लास्ट ईयर का ग्रोथ देखोगे निफ्टी और बैंक निफ्टी के साथ, तो बैंक निफ्टी अभी 14-15 के पी में चल रहा है, जहां पर निफ्टी 21 के पी में चल रहा है। तो जो डिफरेंस है, ये डिफरेंस आने वाले 1 साल के अंदर कम होने वाला है। तो इसमें प्राइवेट बैंक भी चलेंगे, पीएसयू भी चलेंगे, बट हमारा फोकस मेनली पीएसयू में रहेगा। क्योंकि आप देखो आज इतना बढ़ने के बाद भी कैन बैंक आपको 7 के पी में मिलेगा, आपको यूनियन बैंक जो है 5-8 के पी में मिलेगा, बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा आपको 7-8 के पी में मिल रहा है, स्टेट बैंक आपको 5-7 के पी में मिल रहा है। मैं स्टॉक का नाम ले रहा हूँ, ये कोई रिकमेंडेशन नहीं है, जस्ट आपको एक समझाने के लिए। सेकंड, एक चीज और मोदी जी ने अभी अनाउंस की है, वो है रूफटॉप सोलर, राइट। तो हर 1 करोड़ घर पे रूफटॉप सोलर लगना है। तो इसमें कौन सी कंपनी सबसे ज्यादा फायदेमंद होगी? तो ज्यादातर जो लोग हैं वो ढूंढते हैं कौन सोलर पैनल लगाएगा या कौन क्या करेगा, बट मेरा नजर उसके सेकेंडरी ऑप्शन में है। अगर रूफटॉप सोलर लगना है तो सबसे पहले स्मार्ट मीटर लगना जरूरी है, उस घर की स्मार्ट मीटर जरूरी है, तभी वो और कैलकुलेशन हो पाएगा कितना उन्होंने यूज किया, कितना गवर्नमेंट को वापस बेचेंगे, कितना कहाँ बेचेंगे, उसके लिए स्मार्ट मीटर की जरूरत है। तो स्मार्ट मीटर इंडिया में अभी तक ज्यादातर घर पे नहीं लगा है। अगर आप कैलकुलेट करोगे 3-4%, 5% ही इन्वेस्टमेंट हुआ है स्मार्ट मीटर में हर पूरे इंडिया के हिसाब से बात करें तो इसकी अपॉर्चुनिटी बहुत बड़ी है मार्केट में और प्लेयर बहुत कम है। समथिंग लाइक स्नाइडर इलेक्ट्रिक्स की आप बात कर सकते हो, और भी बहुत सारी कंपनीज है, मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहूंगा अभी, बट उसमें एक बड़ा अपॉर्चुनिटीज है। दूसरा ट्रांसफॉर्मर, ये 2 चीज में ध्यान रखना चाहिए। साथ में एक लाइन और ऐड करूंगा, अगर आप यूएस में देखोगे तो 700-800 रुपए खर्चे होते हैं इलेक्ट्रिसिटी में। अगर डॉलर टर्म में बात करें तो इंडिया में वो चीज 50 रुपए खर्चा हो रहा है, और यूएस में है 40 करोड़ पीपल और हम है 140 करोड़। तो ये जो डिफरेंस है ये एकदम तो खत्म नहीं होगा, मगर हम 4% का अगर 10% भी चले जाए इलेक्ट्रिसिटी यूज में, तो आप सोचो कितना बड़ा अपॉर्चुनिटीज है इस सेक्टर में। तो एक पावर सेक्टर, दूसरा पीएसयू सेक्टर, मुझे लगता है आने वाले 6 महीने के अंदर आपको अच्छा रिटर्न और भी दे सकता है। ये चल भी रहा है और अभी दे सकता है।
Thank you, Lokeshji. I think power sector and PSU sector, even Ajay sir and Gurmeet Singh sir have also, spoken about, and you have also conviction. So I think that's a quick takeaway for all our users for these 2 sectors. Nooresh, coming to you, I mean, since we are talking about volatility and all of this, so do these pre-election surveys and opinion poll, actually influence the short-term market trends also? Like, and if an investor is investing for longer term, how can he actually strategize to, for his investing strategy, how can he incorporate these kind of volatility?
So, say as a long-term investor, such events do not really make a big difference because you ideally want a dip in such events to actually go in and do a little bit of shopping. But the fact is, overall, if you look at the structure of the market, we generally see going into elections, the last 2 to 3 weeks, we see a total lack of volatility, whether it was 2004 or 2009. So because going into the event till the time opinion polls are not coming out, so the surveys are not important. The day opinion poll comes out, that is the time we see the first price action, and majority of it gets done on that day, and then finally on the election results. So the viewers going into elections, the last 2-3 weeks, we could see some bit of total sideways period where markets may not go anywhere, at least in India as such. So my view is the difference today is you are coming into an election with a back of 11 to 12-month rally. A lot of sectors which were hated. So I remember when we came out with a note on power back in 2021 saying 10 years lost, and nobody was really interested in the sector. A lot of these names, power names were in 2 digits. They are all up 4x, 5x. Even we could not capture the whole move. But the fact is, all the hated sectors are over. PSC, nobody was interested, whether it is PSU banks or PSU companies or anything, shipyard and defense companies. So a lot of these moves have already taken place. So one has to be careful for the only reason that whenever we see an election event, trends change. Say 2014, after elections, the first move happened in all PSU stocks, thinking there would be a change in say the governance and etc. in the whole PSU basket. And a lot of these companies like BHEL, etc., went up and they did nothing for the next 5-6 years, right? So the obvious things do not happen in the market as much as we think. So today, some of the obvious places are power will do well. Suddenly, 2-3 years back, power was, everyone was interested. PSUs will do well, no more. So one has to be careful here, not because they will fall. There could be some other spots which would do really better, right? So my view is I'm keeping an open mind going into elections because stocks and sectors which break out after elections would really be more interesting, because we've seen in previous elections also, say 2009, the earlier move was with all the frozen stocks, all the infra stocks went up. But from 2009 onwards, it was all about FMCG, defensives, and they did really well, which nobody was interested in. Nobody was interested in a two-wheeler stock, etc. Right. So my view is that as of today, whatever has happened in the last 2 years, everyone is gung-ho. So, right. So a lot of companies today, whether it is capital goods, which nobody was interested 2 years back, right? So my view is trends change when such events take place. Like 2021, when the market topped, right, because of the global digital, etc. What changed? Everyone was worried about digital. Everyone was talking about what is happening across the world. And what sectors did well? The old economy names, right? In September to 21 to Jan 2022, the whole market stopped. And in that period, you saw new all-time highs happening in public sector enterprises. So that told you, okay, forget about all the digital names, focus here, right? From that point of time, all pharma names kind of topped out. You have diagnostic names topping out. So today, I'm worried about the places where things have done really well. There is a risk they may go sideways. See, a lot of these stocks which have done well may not fall off 20-30%, right? A railway sector has done really well, right? A lot of these companies used to quote at 6% yields and now they're quoting at 2-digit P's, right? So the things have already changed. So my view is they may go into a sideways. So the risk is they may go sideways, and because the numbers are going to come, so the earnings will be there, right? See, if such order books are there, earnings will be there, but price action will not be great. So you want to be open because post elections there will be new trends. We've seen in 2014-15 also. 2015 was the time where textiles started doing well, but nobody was interested in textiles and chemicals, right? So my view is at this point of time, whatever has done well before, you want to be cautious on that.
Interesting. I think that's a very simple formula for everybody. And so which sectors is not doing well and is undermined, so that users can actually focus on those sectors where they can catch up the early trends.
So say some of the sectors which we are looking out for, we've not allocated a lot. So something like agrochemicals, which has gone through a bad phase. We've not bought anything in agrochemicals as of now. There is paper which has not done well. So these are two sectors which have not done really well. So that is what we are watching. We like a lot of specialty steel companies where we are biased, which is basically third level of steel companies, not the large names. But metals is interesting because they topped out in 2021. So mining and metals have done well. So that is one sector. Real estate continues to be interesting because there are multiple opportunities. We've seen the large ones do well, but there are a lot of small cap, mid cap real estate names which are popping up on our screens. And apart from that, this is the first time we are getting into a phase where we are more stock specific than sector specific, because a lot of sectors which we like have really done well and we are out of it. So we don't. So specifically, I don't own any railways, defense anymore. Even power, we are out. So the PSCs which we are interested in, we are not looking at it anymore. So, and because the style is to be contra and wait for things to change. So we are better off waiting out and maybe not make returns in the next 3 months. But like in 2021 to 22, when markets were flat, we had a great year. So the view is right now, start making a list of sectors which people don't like to talk about. For example, consumer companies, nobody wants to talk about, right?
Right.
To talk about consumer durables, consumer companies, nobody wants to talk about. Anything related to rural, nobody wants to talk about, right? So we are only talking about premiumization. We are only talking about the K curve, etc. Right. So my focus is to look out for these sectors, and if they start making price action, then the place shifts that you go from premiumization to the core economy, rural economy, etc. So as of today, most of the themes people are talking about has already played. So if a theme has played out 5x, right, what's the point if the returns have already been made? And that is where everyone starts talking about it. For example, if you look at a PSE, there was a time. So you look at an example, I'll take not invested Hindustan Aeronautics. The IPO got subscription only by insurance companies. The OFS got subscriptions by insurance companies. LIC used to own 13-14% of equity. Today, it has been able to sell off and owns less than 2% of equity. So the participation has shifted, right? So from here on also, they'll do well. But in that period, what has been the returns? So being contra is the way today. So my logic today is I don't want to participate where everyone is gung ho. So looking at all other sectors, consumer is specifically what we like, consumer retail companies which have not done well.
Yes, thank you. Nitya, just extending to what Nooresh has been saying, that he wants to remain as a contrarian investor. So, do you also believe that yes, there is a mismatch in prices and fundamental valuations currently, and as per these market veterans and fund managers, how can you participate in such a scenario? What would you do?
Let's just look at it this way. I was reading Bharat Shah sir's interview recently. He mentioned that, on a 30-year basis, if you look at it, India's economy has grown at 8.5%, and even the stock market has returned 8.5% over the last 30 years. So we are neither at a very major premium nor at a discount. Like, things are as per GDP. So I feel we are just at the cusp of economic growth. Everything is just beginning over here. So today, if you notice, most of the themes are played out right now. Being contrarian is the only way, because if you enter at these high valuations today, you're looking at probably not performing well over the next few years, because the only thing you're in control of is your entry valuation. That's the only thing you can control. So I would suggest, like, for example, in the defense theme, there's so many companies where the order books are filled, and it's giving you visibility for the next 10 to 15 years. Railways also, there's tons of revenue visibility. So I feel a lot of it is priced in today. Like, if you run a reverse DCF, you're looking at a minimum of 30 to 35% compounded earnings growth over the next 10 years in a lot of these stocks. So if you enter with such expectations already baked in, you're asking for trouble. Because say if 1 or 2 quarters they do not deliver as expected, the markets will just derate their valuations like there's no business. So I would say, for example, now if we look at China at such a high base, their gross fixed capital formation is still north of 40%, and we are still in the 30s at a much lower base. So I feel we are growing at, say, 11 to 12% nominal GDP growth. There's always going to be ideas, because at such a high base to grow 11 to 12% means we do deserve a premium in a way. In terms of other economies, I don't see anyone else performing at the level India is performing. So I feel this is just the beginning. The rural area will also have to participate, but I feel that the rich are getting richer. And if you look at the Pareto principle, it's the 20% which makes up for the 80%, right? So I've continued to be gung-ho about premiumization. I can see it in a lot of the stocks that we've invested in, and my thesis seems to continue to play out. So we are looking to add more to certain names, because we are looking at modes. Like, for example, we recently sold out of this recently. We had invested in Carousel Limited. They are into kitchen sinks. So we saw that there's a clear niche. We didn't see many players in that price segment doing quartz sinks, right, for the kitchens. So instead of playing the real estate companies, we decided to play Carousel instead, because I feel that the predictability of earnings is much easier to do than a real estate company. Because real estate companies, sometimes I don't feel very confident about the accounting practices followed by them and how the balance sheets are presented, how the cash flows are presented. So we prefer to always play the ancillary over the real estate team. So Carousel was one which we had played. So I'm honestly just looking at clear modes, because since we are more small cap focused, we look at all market caps. But in small caps, if you're doing something that's run of the mill, you're not going to be able to create a mark for yourself against the larger players. You need to be doing something specific. You need to have some moat or USP. So I would say that's another way we've been looking at things. So there are a lot of interesting companies where the broader markets have not paid much attention, and now finally I feel they are coming to light. So this is a certain way I feel. Now the next 2 to 3 years, the private sector capex really needs to pick up to maintain this level of GDP growth, because the public sector has undertaken a lot of capex. Now it's time for the private sector to contribute, because if you look at the spending habits of India as a whole, 60% still goes towards consumption. Only 30% is going towards asset formation. So I feel asset formation is something that really needs to pick up in the coming few years. And the government today clearly seems to be encouraging this through multiple schemes. So another very important factor I noticed recently is that FII holdings are at a very big low at the moment. So they're, I think, at around about 16% ownership. So going forward, even FIIs are going to look at growth while investing, and I expect a lot of money to flow into India in the coming few years. So FII holding being at 16% post elections, I can probably see a lot more increased participation by the FIIs. So that's another important metric to track. So broad-based, I feel India, the story is solid. Our debt to GDP is also below 1 time. So the quality of earnings has also been quite strong. If you look at the CFO to PAT conversion, it's been quite high. So there's a lot of good things going on. We just need to be careful of the entry valuations.
Okay. Thank you. I think that was quite an insightful, answer, because our users have got some sectors along with what Nooresh pitched in with respect to sectors and some specific takeaways that how to actually pick up stocks and themes under the broader theme. Lokesh, any insight on any specific parameters which you look out for to pick up stocks in specific themes, as Nooresh has been pitching and Nitya, that if they are little bullish on the contrarian stocks and even if the premiumization theme and all of that. So what are the specific parameters to pick up those stocks, and how do you actually filter those stocks under this broad theme and sector?
सोची जी एक्चुअली मैं नूरेश जी के साथ एक बात करता हूँ। उन्होंने एक चीज बोली, जो स्टॉक भाग चुके हैं या जो सेक्टर चल चुके हैं शायद वो अब ना चले और आगे जाके हमें दूसरा कोई सेक्टर या कोई दूसरा इंडस्ट्री मिलेगी जो आगे सेक्टर को लेके जाएगा। तो व्हाट वी बिलीव, जो अभी चल रहा है, हम जैसे वी आर मोमेंटम इन्वेस्टर, राइट, तो जो चल रहा है तो उसके पीछे फोकस करते हैं। अगर कोई दूसरा सेक्टर हमें दिखेगा, कोई स्विच, हमें इसको लेके नहीं बैठना जो पीएसयू चल रहा है या पावर चल रहा है या नहीं चल रहा। हम मार्केट के पीछे चलने वाले हैं, मार्केट के आगे सोचने वाले, हमारे स्ट्रेटेजी में नहीं आता, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, यस आई टोटली एग्रीड, कुछ ऐसे पॉकेट हैं जहां पर ओवर वैल्यूड हो गया, 5 गुना 10 गुना हो चुका है। जैसे रेलवे का मैंने एग्जांपल दिया, रेलवे अभी नहीं चलना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से, क्योंकि बहुत महंगा हो चुका है। सेम थिंग पीएसयू स्टॉक्स में भी मैंने 4 नाम बताए, बट उसके साथ में 10 नाम और भी हैं जो बहुत ज्यादा महंगे हो चुके हैं। दे आर जस्ट समथिंग लाइक महाराष्ट्र बैंक, और मैं एग्जांपल देकर बात कर रहा हूँ, तो बहुत ज्यादा महंगे हो गए, तो वहां पर हमें लेना नहीं है। आपको कॉन्फिडेंट होना है, बट सेक्टर जो है, अगर पीएसयू बैंक चल रहा है, सेक्टर में आपको जो महंगा है उसको आपको अवॉइड करना है, जो सस्ता है उसको ऐड ऑन करना है। सेम थिंग पावर में अगर आप 2021-22 की बात करेंगे तो अपार इंडस्ट्री टाइप की कंपनी ज्यादा चल रही थी। आज 6 महीने से वो नहीं चल रही है, मगर उस टाइम पे एनटीपीसी एंड पावर ग्रिड वो सब चल रहे थे। अभी आप देखोगे तो अभी मीटर बिजनेस ज्यादा चल रहा है। पावर सेक्टर तो है, पावर सेक्टर चल भी रहा है, बट स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक चेंज हो गए। 2021-22 में कोई और स्टॉक चल रहा था, 22-23 में कोई और चल रहा था, 23-24 में कुछ और चल रहा है। तो वो ही आइडेंटिफाई एज ए इन्वेस्टर हमें करना होता है। अगर अब एक चीज और मैं आपको चीज बात कर रहा हूँ, अगर आपने बजट सुना हो तो वहां पर देखा होगा आपने जो मेन फोकस होता है, गवर्नमेंट का फोकस कहाँ पर है, हम उस तरह से ही अपना स्टॉक आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं। तो इंडिया में गवर्नमेंट का फोकस अभी है क्या? इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेक्टर में गवर्नमेंट 10 लाख करोड़ का इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, राइट? अभी इस साल 11 लाख करोड़ की बात कर रहे हैं। तो अगर मैं मान के चलूं मोदी गवर्नमेंट कंटिन्यू करेंगे तो ये 10 लाख करोड़ 11 लाख करोड़ अभी चेंजेस नहीं होता, इतना ही रखते हैं। तो आने वाले 5 साल के 5 बजट में 50 लाख करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट होने वाला है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेक्टर में। एवरी अगर 10 लाख करोड़ भी पकड़ लेते हो तो 50 लाख करोड़ करने के लिए हमारे पास सिर्फ कौन सी कंपनी है? एनटीपीसी, एलएनटी है, वो भी 3-4 लाख करोड़ की कंपनी है। उसके अलावा कौन सी कंपनी का आप नाम ले सकते हो जो इतनी बड़ी लेवल पे काम कर रही है? सब मीडियम और स्मॉल कैप कंपनीज ही आपको मिलेंगी। तो अपॉर्चुनिटीज बहुत है, कौन सी कंपनी उभर जाएगी आज बोलना मुश्किल है। वही हमारा काम है, काम करने का तरीका है, वही हम आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं कि 50 लाख करोड़ का जो बिजनेस आने वाला है, जो ओवर वैल्यू नहीं है, तो बैलेंस शीट उनका साफ है, डेट ज्यादा नहीं है, मगर बिजनेस कर पाएंगे। हमें पता है 50 लाख करोड़ इन्वेस्टर तो आना है, पैसा तो आना है, तो कौन सा चलेगा उसके ऊपर ध्यान रखा जाना चाहिए, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, एक और थी आपका, मैं थोड़ा क्वेश्चन मिस कर रहा हूँ, वापस क्वेश्चन किस तरह से हम थीम आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, राइट? तो अब नेक्स्ट, अगर अब मैं एग्जांपल लेके चलता हूँ, मैं ये थीम की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, तो आप एक एग्जांपल लेके चलिए। सपोज 1920 के आसपास यूएस की अगर बात करें, उस टाइम पे हर घर पे एसी नहीं हुआ करता था, हर घर पे पानी नहीं पहुंच रहा था। वो चेंजेस कब हुआ? 1920 टू 1930 में जो चेंजेस हुए, उसके बाद 80% घर पे। जी
हाँ, जस्ट स्पेसिफिक स्टॉक पैरामीटर्स, कुछ पैरामीटर्स जो कि आप देखते हैं पिकिंग आउट स्टॉक्स, ये क्वेश्चन है हमारे यूजर का।
जी। तो सबसे पहला जो आइडेंटिफिकेशन है, कौन सा सेक्टर चल रहा है। अगर आप इंडेक्स वाइज आप एक काम कीजिए, आपने जो भी चार्टिंग सॉफ्टवेयर देखते हो उस पे सारे इंडेक्स का आप चार्ट लगा लीजिए, एक एक करके देखिए कौन सा सेक्टर आउट परफॉर्म कर रहा है। पहला पॉइंट यही है कि कौन सा सेक्टर आउट परफॉर्म कर रहा है, कौन सा सेक्टर अंडर परफॉर्म कर रहा है, राइट? जिसको आरएस भी हम बोलते हैं, रिलेटिव स्ट्रेंथ, निफ्टी से कौन सा सेक्टर ज्यादा अच्छा कर रहा है, कौन सा सेक्टर कम अच्छा कर रहा है। अब सेक्टर आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया, उसके बाद उस सेक्टर का मान लीजिए 20 कंपनी है, उनका चार्ट आप डालिए। जो मान लीजिए मैंने देखा रियलिटी स्टॉक या पावर स्टॉक अच्छा कर रहा है, तो रियलिटी का हमने चार्ट डाला है, 20 स्टॉक है उसमें से मुझे कौन से 2 या 3 लेने हैं। वहां से हमने 5 आइडेंटिफाई किए। उसके बाद वो 5 या 6 में से कौन सा फंडामेंटली बुरा नहीं है। अच्छे, अगर आप खराब ढूंढने जाओगे तो हर कंपनी में कुछ ना कुछ गलत निकलता है, कहीं ना कहीं सीजी इशू निकलता है, कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर नीचे निकलता है। कम खराब कौन से कंपनीज है जब हम मीडियम स्मॉल कैप में बात कर रहे हैं, राइट? तो वो आपको आइडेंटिफाई करना है। तो टेक्नो फंड आप देख सकते हो, समथिंग लाइक प्रोमोटर होल्डिंग कितनी है। अगर प्रोमोटर होल्डिंग 40-50% से नीचे है स्मॉल और मिड कैप कंपनी में, तो वो थोड़ा सा रिस्की रेड फ्लैग है मेरे हिसाब से। अगर डेट टू इक्विटी रेशियो डिपेंड ऑन कंपनी टू कंपनी, आईटी कंपनी में 1-2 पर आधा % भी मेरे लिए बहुत खराब है, और अगर कोई कैपेक्स कंपनी है तो 1-1.5% डेट टू इक्विटी 1 हो तो भी चलेगा मेरे लिए। तो डिपेंड ऑन सेक्टर टू सेक्टर आपको डेट टू इक्विटी रेशियो देखना है। तीसरा देखना है कंपनी के जो ओनर है उनका प्लेज कितना है, आप कितना प्लेज दे रहे हो या नहीं दे रहे हो। आपने 10% 5% प्लेज दिया इज ओके, अगर आपका 40% आपका होल्डिंग है, उसका 80% आप प्लेज पे रख रखे हो, ऐसे कंपनीज को अवॉइड कर देना है।
So got my points. Basically, the fundamental factors like the pledge, the promoter shareholding, and the valuations, which will help to filter down the stocks. Thank you. Thank you. So, just to wind up, and one last question, Nooresh, to you. That since you are a techno-funda investor, how much weightage do you give to your technical side, and how much weightage do you give to the fundamental parameters before selecting a stock?
So the strategy is this way. There are 2 ways you go through an idea. One is you like technically and you like the structure technically. For example, hotels are breaking out after 20 years, say 2-3 years back. The structure is all technical. In that cases, you give 80% weight to a technical reasoning and 20% to the fundamental reasoning. Same way, there are some sectors which you have a fundamental view, very cheap, etc. Right? Say for example, if we came out with a note saying most hated promoter is changing hands, which was government. right? Because things were changing across the board in terms of governance, EPS, how dividends were to be paid quarterly, etc. So 80% of the reasoning comes from there, and then you wait for technical parameters to confirm, right? So your idea comes from one of the two places, which is where you give 80%, and the 20% is to confirm. Say today, for example, if I find a sector cheap, right, I'll wait for price action to confirm. So for example, we like textiles, papers, right? But none of textile, papers, agrochemicals fundamentally look cheap. Price action has to confirm. So as of now, so in the end, decision making in terms of entry, most of the times, the higher weightage is to technical. But in terms of identifying ideas, you identify parallelly on both the sides. So give it weight, let the markets confirm. So over the years, we've learned you can use various logics, but you need market confirmation to get in. So in terms of entry, technicals becomes a lot more important.
Right. Thank you. I think that was quite insightful, and that's very logical also. That once you have to have an idea, and then we build it up as a case study, and then wait for the markets to confirm. So thank you. I just want to announce a few things to our users. So due to some technical glitch, our expert Saket could not join us. He was there, he joined, and then there was some glitch because of which he could not join in again. And Vineet Ji could not moderate the session. So this is because our seats are full for this session. So not to worry. We are extending this show. We've posted a new link on the chat and also on Stockit social platform. So please join the link, and we'll continue the session from the new link from 3 o'clock. So we'll end this session here. Thank you, Nooresh, for your valuable time. Thank you, Lokesh. Thank you, Nitya, so much for your valuable time. And see you at the new link. From the new link, please join in right away.